The restaurant was nearly empty. It was a Tuesday night, and the rain tapped softly against the large front window. Marco stood behind the counter, wiping a glass with a clean white cloth. He was 63 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen many things. His restaurant was small, with only 8 tables, each covered with a red and white checkered cloth. On each table, a single candle flickered gently. Marco had owned this place for 32 years. He knew the regular customers by name. He knew what they liked to eat. He knew about their children and their jobs and their worries. But tonight, the restaurant was quiet. Only 2 tables were occupied. A young couple sat in the corner, holding hands and speaking in soft voices. An old man sat near the window, reading a newspaper and sipping a cup of soup. Marco looked at the clock on the wall. It was almost 9. Soon, the kitchen would close. Soon, he would send his cook and the one waiter home. Then he would lock the door and count the money and go upstairs to his small apartment above the restaurant. It was always the same routine. But tonight, something felt different. He looked toward the door and saw a woman standing outside in the rain. She was not holding an umbrella. Her hair was wet and her coat was thin. She was looking through the glass at the warm light inside. Marco could see her face. She looked tired. She looked sad. She looked like someone who had nowhere else to go. The woman turned to leave, but Marco moved quickly. He walked to the door and opened it. The cold air rushed in, bringing the smell of wet streets. "Please," Marco said. "Come in. It is warm inside." The woman looked at him with surprise. I don't have much money," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, like she was afraid to speak. Marco smiled. "That is not important. Please, come in and sit down." She hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. Marco led her to a small table near the kitchen. He pulled out a chair for her. She sat down and wrapped her thin arms around herself, trying to get warm. "I will bring you something to eat," Marco said. "I cannot pay," she said again, looking down at the table. Marco did not answer. He simply walked into the kitchen. The cook was cleaning the large pots, getting ready to leave. Marco opened the refrigerator and looked inside. He took out fresh tomatoes, garlic, and basil. He took out a piece of good bread and a small block of cheese. He began to cook. While the sauce simmered on the stove, Marco looked through the kitchen window at the woman. She was staring at the candle on her table. Her hands were wrapped around a glass of water that the waiter had brought her. She looked small in the empty restaurant. Marco prepared the plate with care. He arranged the pasta neatly. He placed the bread on the side with a little dish of olive oil. He added a small sprig of fresh parsley for color. Then he carried the plate to her table. The woman looked at the food, then up at Marco. Her eyes were wet, but she did not cry. "Thank you," she whispered. Marco nodded. "Eat slowly. It is hot." He walked away to give her privacy. He busied himself at the counter, wiping surfaces that were already clean. From the corner of his eye, he watched her take the first bite. He saw her shoulders relax slightly. He saw her close her eyes for a moment, as if the warmth of the food was filling something empty inside her. The young couple left, holding hands and stepping out into the rain. The old man folded his newspaper and paid his bill. Soon, the waiter and the cook said goodnight and walked out the back door. Marco locked the door behind them. The restaurant was now empty, except for the woman at the small table. Marco went to the kitchen and started cleaning. He washed the pots and pans. He swept the floor. He listened to the soft sound of rain and the occasional clink of the woman's fork against her plate. After some time, she finished eating. Marco came out of the kitchen and walked to her table. "Would you like some coffee?" he asked. "Yes, please," she said. Her voice was stronger now. Marco brought 2 cups of coffee and sat down across from her. He did not ask questions. He simply sat and sipped his coffee and looked out the window at the rain. After a long silence, the woman spoke. "My name is Elena." "Hello, Elena. I am Marco." "I lost my job last month," she said quietly. "I have been looking for work every day, but no one is hiring. My money ran out 2 weeks ago. I have been sleeping at the train station. I have not eaten a hot meal in. I cannot remember when." Marco listened. He did not interrupt. He did not offer advice. He just listened. I was walking in the rain, Elena continued. I saw your light through the window. It looked so warm. I just wanted to stand near it for a moment. I did not expect to come inside. Marco nodded slowly. The light is always here, he said. Every night. Elena looked at him. Why did you invite me in? You do not know me. Marco thought for a moment. Many years ago, I was lost too, he said. I had nothing. I was alone in a new city. A stranger gave me a warm meal. He asked for nothing in return. That meal gave me hope. It made me believe that things could get better. He paused and sipped his coffee. When I opened this restaurant, I made a promise to myself. Every night, I would prepare one extra meal. Just one. For whoever needed it. For whoever was eating alone. Elena looked around the small restaurant. The candles still flickered on the tables. The rain still tapped against the window. The light was warm and soft. I have served that meal many times over the years, Marco said. To tired travelers. To sad students. To old people who had lost their partners. To young people who had lost their way. Each time, I remember that night so long ago. Each time, I hope that the meal gives them a little hope, the way that meal gave me hope. Elena reached across the table and touched Marco's hand. You gave me more than food tonight, she said. You gave me kindness. That is something no one can take away. Marco smiled. Tomorrow is another day, he said. The rain will stop. The sun will come out. And you will find your way. I believe that. They sat together in the quiet restaurant, two people connected by a simple meal and a moment of human warmth. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Inside, the candles continued to burn. Finally, Elena stood up. She looked stronger now. Her shoulders were straight. Her eyes were clear. Thank you, Marco. I will remember this night for the rest of my life. Marco stood too. If you ever need a warm meal again, you know where to find it. The light is always on. He walked her to the door and opened it. The cold air rushed in, but Elena did not shiver. She stepped outside, then turned back. Good night, Marco. Good night, Elena. Be safe. She walked away into the rain, and Marco watched until she disappeared into the darkness. Then he closed the door and looked around his restaurant. The tables were empty. The candles were burning low. But the light was still there, warm and steady. Marco blew out the candles one by one. He turned off the kitchen lights. He walked to the back and started climbing the stairs to his apartment. But before he went inside, he paused. He looked down at the restaurant below, quiet and still. Tomorrow, he would prepare another meal. Tomorrow, someone else might need it, and the light would be waiting.